destruction. The tactics of survival inside of a rotten jungle. We are all so cold.
So the first thing that I want to talk about is life, is motivation. It's the first thing that I want to talk about, and how important it is to stay motivated. It's very, very important, mainly because life is pending on perception. Life is nothing but how you look at it. Life is nothing but these two eyes. Life happens on the insides of our head, and we react on the outside. That's what happens. At least that's how I think it happens. That's what I've been observing. I've been observing that shit. And if you stay motivated, what's going to happen on the outside and the things that you're going to see, it's not really going to change your perception, only because if you think about the concept of perception, what people actually see doesn't necessarily mean that it's there. So, and sometimes things that people don't see doesn't mean that it's not there. So that's why if you stay motivated, what you see will matter not. Only because I believe, like I said, life happens on the inside of our heads, and we react to it on the outside with our body and with our emotions, and we implement our perceptions into our reality. And I hope this makes sense. I really do. If you remember that, then you'll try not to let physical things and things on the outside affect you too much on the inside. I've been struggling with this myself, especially for about maybe the past 2 months or so. It hasn't been an easy 2 months for me. It hasn't been easy at all. I've found myself trying my best to stay focused. Stay focused, stay positive. And that's why I have to remind myself constantly about the concept of motivation and the concept of perception, because they're two very, very, very important details in our life. If we don't have motivation, and if we aren't aware and conscious of our perception, they will begin to affect us in real life. Because it's not about what it is, it's about how you look at it, it's about how you view it. And the way you view it is what you're going to take in. And what you take in is what you're going to project with your body, because what you take in, that's the part when I mean life happens inside of your mind. What you take in ultimately is going to alter what you put out. And I know what a lot of people are thinking. It's like, how do you expect your motivation to survive, and for your perception to remain under your control and not altered, when you don't live in the world by yourself? And that is some real shit. It's like how can I remain strong in my motivation and my perception and the things that I understand when, I may be dealing, or, we all may be dealing with other people who don't understand the power of perception and how it can affect their motivation and the motivation of others. And people try to say, you can't let other people affect you, but that's just not a reality. That's just not honest. The people around you, the people that you care for, the people that that you admire, the people that are just there in your space, the names that the faces that you remember, they're real. They're the reasons of why we are in the places that we are. It's like, how do we allow these people's perceptions to not interfere? Well, I have an idea. I guess you don't allow the perceptions of other people to affect you by being consistent. You understand? I'm a Gemini. I'm a strong believer in the concept that actions speak louder than words. And sometimes when you're faced with the perception of someone near you, and it has to be someone very close to you, and I don't mean a stranger, I don't mean an associate, I mean the person that you're with, your lover, the friends that you have, your family members, especially your fucking family, man. Fucking family can fuck your whole life up. Um, but how do you allow their perceptions of you, about you, towards you, to not affect you? You know, and the reason why I say be consistent is because um, um, there's truth in consistency. You know, there's powers in consistency. There's an undeniable peace in being consistent. You know, not stopping what you're doing is a very, very powerful thing to do, and it's an excellent tool for motivation. You know, when you find that, you know, you're able to move on in spite of, you know, not feeling the need to explain yourself, defend yourself, when you can just keep going. That's pretty much allowing motivation into your perception and taking control of it. You know, it's not to say I wouldn't say that I'm a control freak. I'm not a control freak at all. I must control myself. You understand? That's how I feel. I feel like when I'm no longer able to control myself, now I'm leaving room for the perceptions and the realities of other people to come in, take over my shit, fuck me up, have me in my room for days, upset, mad all the time, frustrated all the time, aggravated all the time, complaining all the time, and all of that stuff. Because, you know, I found out, you know, that when you find yourself doing that, you know, it don't do shit. When you find yourself to the point where it's like you doing all of that shit, you mad all the time, you aggravated all the time, you in your room all the time, you this all the time, you that all the time, and you noticing that it's not doing anything for you, it's not benefiting your life at all, then you start to get angry. You start to get angry at all the people that you think got you reacting this way. But it's not them, it's you. It's completely you, you know? So I would definitely say having control is definitely a way to be able to live in the world not by yourself and hold on to your perception and hold on to your motivation. Having control and being consistent. Here we go. Having control over your consistency factor. You know, when you find yourself being able to be consistent, you know what I'm saying? But, you know, we all struggle with it. You know, I struggle with it too. You know, some shit happened recently, and instead of holding on to my truth and continue to be consistent, I allowed the perception of other people to cause me to change. I'm wrong. I'll admit it. I allowed the perception of other people to cause me to change because I began to get so frustrated in my truth and holding on to what I thought was true, you know, and my truth wasn't getting through, you know, it wasn't being understood, you know, my consistency was being tested, and instead of remaining consistent, I decided to say, you know what, switcheroonie, you know, and it didn't do anything. It didn't do anything. The only thing that it definitely did, it made me mad. You know, it made me mad that, you know, that I allowed the perception of someone else, other people, to invade my motivation and change me. You know, and it's crazy. A little personal life in there. I told you guys I'm dealing with a lot, so it feels good to really, really talk about it. Um, But yeah, you know, sometimes, you know, you'd be like, oh, I'm right, and I'm so right that I'm gonna just say, fuck you. And that's what I did. And I did not have control over my consistency. Um, I allowed my perception to be intruded on. And I allowed that anger to boost my motivation. only because I was so right that I no longer was comfortable in my consistency because I noticed the perception of other people. And the honest woman in me knows that if I could change anything that I did, um, I would have chilled. I would have given less of a fuck about the bullshit that I already did. You know, I didn't. I just allowed the bullshit to get to me. You know, only because I couldn't understand. I couldn't understand why it was happening. I couldn't understand. You know, the timing was wrong. You know, I'm dealing with things in my own life and things that that I have to deal with only with me. And I just let the world get the best of me. But hey, taking my own advice, right? Don't say it too loud, no one is listening. Their headphones are booming and their loose change is on the run. Life is a game and no one is playing for fun, but we having the ball that we couldn't afford. I say we are winning, but no one is keeping score. Like a clumsy chef, I'll spill the beans. Every rap song ain't as real as your head rap. If you fall in love, they call you soft and you feel caught. You put your heart over money and they look at you funny, but they can't take her from me. I won't say it too loud, no one is listening. I'll wait inside a cherry tree and smoke heavily with poetry. If me and poetry could make love, I'd beat that like I can't speak. They can judge my homosexuality as long as she lets me get a tug of her heart. I heard her sing. It stung like a harp, not at all. It was heaven. It was smooth and she made me lessons, but I'm a believer.
Sitting, but when we break free, stop being a cuckoo clone.